chiefs of the jurists amongst the women in absolute terms. And from the pieces of advice that are related from her is her statement, from her admonitions is her statement, أَقِلُّ الذُّنُوبِ فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تَلْقَوُا اللَّهَ بِشَيْءٍ أَفْضَلَ مِنْ قِلَّةِ الذُّنُوبِ. So she said, أَقِلُّ الذُّنُوبِ, make your sins to be less. Diminish your sins. For indeed you will not meet Allah with anything more excellent than scarcity of sins. Than the scarcity of sins. So we see that abandoning sins is a type of sadaqah. Abandoning sins is a type of dua. As we see Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, it was said to him, Ya Aba Abdullah, law da'awta bida'awat. So someone said to Sufyan al-Thawri, oh Abu Abdullah, if only you made some supplications. So he said, قال ترك الذنوب هو الدعاء. To abandon sins, that in itself is dua. When you abandon sins, you are making dua. And what is indicating here, in the light of what Aisha radiallahu anha said, is that from the greatest of things that lead your dua to be answered, is that you abandon sins. That is to say that since abandoning sins will make your dua more likely to be answered, then abandoning sins itself is dua, is a form of dua, is you making dua. And abandoning sins has great, tremendous, mighty benefits. And in fact, what indicates this is an ayah in the Quran, in Surah At-Tawbah, where Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions the sacred months. إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّحُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم. Indeed, the number of months with Allah is 12 months in the book of Allah on the day that He created the heavens and the earth. Amongst them are 4 that are sacred. That is the upright religion. And then right at the end of this verse, He said, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not wrong your own souls within these months. So, in other words, you wrong yourself by committing sins, the minor sins or the major sins. And so this is a great and mighty affair that is alluded to in this ayah. So Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions some amazing benefits from the abandonment of sins. And this is like an explanation of the statement of Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, أَقِلُّ الذُّنُوبِ فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تَلْقَوُا اللَّهَ بِشَيْءٍ أَفْضَلَ مِنْ قِلَّةِ الذُّنُوبِ. You will not meet Allah with anything greater, more excellent than scarcity of sins. So Ibn al-Qayyim, he says, لَوْ لَمْ يَكُنْ فِي تَرْكِ الذُّنُوبِ وَالْمَعَاصِي. If there wasn't in abandoning sins and disobedience illa, except, then he mentions 15 or 20 different things. Iqamatul maru'ah. First of them, Iqamatul maru'ah. The first of them is that it establishes a type of manhood in you. Like a type of, something that is noble as a trait that you have this maru'ah. وَصَوْنُ الْعِرْضِ. And the protection of your honor. Your honor is then protected. وَحِفْظُ الْجَاهِ. And your status is likewise protected. وَمَحَبَّةُ الْخَلْقِ. And the creation will love you. The creation will love you. The less your sins are, you will earn the love of the creation. وَصَلَاحُ الْمَعَاشِ. Your life, your welfare, there will be rectification in it. وَرَاحَةُ الْبَدَنِ. Your body will be at ease. It will be satisfied. وَقُوَّةُ الْقَلْبِ. There will be strength in your heart. You will have a strong, determined heart. وَطِيبُ النَّفْسِ. Your soul will be wholesome, fresh, nice, good. وَنَعِيمُ الْقَلْبِ. Your heart will taste bliss. وَانْشِرَاحُ الصَّدْرِ. Your chest will become expanded. You will have an open chest. وَالْأَمْنُ مِنْ مَخَاوِفِهِ الْفُسَّاقِ وَالْفُجَّارِ. You will also feel secure from the sinful and the criminal people amongst the people, those who are sinful, those who are criminal, from harm from them, from those things that one feels from such people. وَقِلَّةُ الْحَمِّ وَالْغَمِّ وَالْحَزَنِ. Likewise, your anxiety, your stress, your grief, your fear, all these things, they will diminish. See, all of these are things that all of us experience. We experience these things, constricted chest, feeling fearful, having a soul which is sluggish, having a weak heart. These are things that we experience, but never, how often do we think, what is the reason? What is the reason for these affairs? We sometimes try to interpret them with circumstances. I'm stressed because of so-and-so. I'm stressed because so-and-so is stressing me. I'm stressed because of this situation. I'm stressed because of that situation. It could be financial. It could be a fallout with somebody. But then we don't think, well, maybe the asl of these problems is not those things. Maybe it's sins which I've committed. Maybe there are sins which I've not repented from. Maybe there are sins which I'm committing now. And these are the true and real causes of these things which I'm feeling in my body, in my soul, in my mental health, in my physical health, in my wealth, in my family. Maybe that's the reason. So sometimes we lose track of these realities, and we become blinded to what the real causes are of the trials and tribulations that we are going through. So he continues, وَقِلَّةُ الْحَمِّ وَالْغَمِّ وَالْحَزَنِ. Likewise, from the benefits of abandoning sins and disobedience is a lack of anxiety, stress, grief, sadness. وَعِزُّ النَّفْسِ عَنْ إِحْتِمَالِ الذُّلِّ. Likewise, your soul will have a type of like an honorable, strong feeling about itself, and not be humiliated or fall into humiliation. وَصَوْنُ نُورِ الْقَلْبِ أَن تُطْفِئَهُ ظُلْمَةُ الْمَعْصِيَةِ. Likewise, the protection of the light which is in the heart from being extinguished by the darknesses of sin. And so, as you know, the heart, what it contains of ilm, iman, and when it repels sins and disobedience, a white spot comes on the heart, and it continues like this up until it grows and it increases in its purity and whiteness, and it will not be put to trial. Conversely, the heart which soaks up these sins and these trials and black spots appear over time, the light which is in this heart becomes extinguished, and it cannot recognize truth from falsehood. It has no scales anymore to recognize what is good for it and what is harmful to it. So avoiding sins is something that allows a person to maintain that nur in his heart. وَتَيَسُّرُ الرِّزْقِ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And likewise, rizq, his provision, his providence, will be made easy for him from ways and directions that he did not anticipate or expect. And so again, if you're feeling that your rizq is constricted, then again, look at the root causes. It's something that is coming from yourself. وَتَيْسِيرُ مَا عَسُرَ عَلَىٰ أَرْبَابِ الْفُسُوقِ وَالْمَعَاصِي. And likewise, those things will become easy for you which are otherwise hard upon the people who are engrossed in sins and disobedience. وَتَسْهِيلُ الطَّاعَاتِ عَلَيْهِ. Acts of obedience will then become easier upon you. If you find that you feel sluggish and lazy towards acts of obedience, towards the voluntary fasts, towards the voluntary acts of worship, then maybe that's because there are sins that are rusting your heart, which haven't been cleansed, and is preventing you from doing the nawafil. Or maybe that's the reason. So, keeping away from sins is something that allows you to very easily perform the righteous deeds, the nawafil, and other than that. وَتَيْسِيرُ الْعِلْمِ, and knowledge being made easy. وَالثَّنَاءُ الْحَسَنِ فِي النَّاسِ, likewise being praised, not that we go and seek the praise of the people, but Allah Azza wa Jal, He has put in His creation certain rules and laws by which His creation operates. And those people that we see the Sahaba are praised till this day. They are praised and honored in the hearts of millions and millions and millions of people. Where has this praise come upon them? It has come upon them because of knowledge, iman, taqwa, righteousness, lack of sins. This is why they have a praise amongst the people. They are praised amongst the people because Allah has given them a good praise amongst the people. And likewise, anyone who is like this, who abandoned sins and maintained ikhlas to Allah and worshipped Him, and Allah will make for him a good mention amongst the people. You don't go and show off and seek that mention. Rather, it is something that Allah makes for you and places upon you and honors you with. He continues, وَسُرْعَةُ إِجَابَةِ دُعَائِهِ, likewise, the speed of his dua being answered. This is from the benefits of abandoning sins. Ask yourself, you make dua, there are things which hinder the dua from being answered. Does it ever come to your mind maybe that there are sins that you've committed you haven't made tawbah for? That could be withholding this thing that you have been making dua for years, if not months or weeks or whatever. Abandoning sins allows your dua to be answered quicker. وَزَوَالُ الْوَحْشَةِ الَّتِي بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ. Sometimes there can be this, what they call estrangement, where you feel a lack of recognition, that you feel that you don't really have something in your heart whereby you feel close to Allah, you feel distant from Allah. Like sometimes you might have a person that you feel distant from, there isn't anything that's clicking between you, and you feel estranged from that person. There are things maybe that's not allowing you to. So this same thing can happen to a servant between him and Allah. What is the cause of that? It is because there are sins that he has that are distancing him from Allah Azza wa Jal. And he can't, his heart can't find itself in a position whereby it feels close and tight with Allah. And so this is what we call estrangement. There's this wahsha, there's this strangeness between you and between Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's because of what the sins that a person commits and how his heart is affected by those sins. وَقُرْبُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مِنْهُ, and the angels become close to him. وَبُعْدُ شَيَاطِينِ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ مِنْهُ, and the devils amongst men and the jinn will be kept distant from him. وَتَنَافُسُ النَّاسِ عَلَى خِدْمَتِهِ وَقَضَاءِ حَوَائِجِهِ, and the people will rush, they will compete with each other to come and help you and to serve you and to fulfill your needs. This is from the benefits of abandoning sins, that Allah Azza wa Jal will place people, will put them around you, and they will come, you will find aid and assistance will come to you from directions you didn't know. Because you are one who abandons sins. You fear Allah in the hidden, in the open. You have taqwa. All of these are this is just not, it's not the complete list, but there are many, many other things. It's from his speech in Al-Fawaid, in his book Al-Fawaid. At the end of all of that, he says that if there were only these things that resulted from abandoning sins and disobedience, لَكَفَى بِذَلِكَ دَاعِيًا لِتَرْكِ الذُّنُوبِ وَالْمَعَاصِي. These things would be sufficient for you to consider abandoning sins completely and disobedience completely. That if there were only just these benefits, there are in fact many, many more. But just these on their own, for an intelligent person, they are sufficient for him to abandon sins and disobedience. So this is the advice of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, aqillu dhunub. These are short words. You can remember them very easily. You can memorize them. Aqillu dhunub, فَإِنَّكُمْ لَن تَلْقَوُوا اللَّهَ بِشَيْءٍ أَفْضَلَ مِنْ قِلَّةِ الذُّنُوبِ. If you don't memorize the words, you can remember the meaning. That when you meet Allah Azza wa Jal, what is the best state that you can meet Allah Azza wa Jal? It is when your sins are very scarce. This is the best state that you can meet Allah Azza wa Jal. So when you combine this advice here of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha with the advice of her nephew Abdullah ibn Zubayr, in which he alluded to at-taqwa, piety, and the parable in the Quran, libasu at-taqwa, and the fact that we see that on Yawm al-Qiyamah the actions will become real and physically weighed, and the fact that in the grave, in the barzakh, that your actions will manifest themselves in the form of a man, a horrible man or a beautiful man. And you bring all of these things together about sins. All of this now gives you something tangible and real and physical that you can see, you can relate to every day of your life. When you wear your garments or take them off, which is the best libas? It is the libas of at-taqwa. When you think about meeting Allah, what is the best state you can meet Allah? It is in a state where your sins are very, very scarce. So put these pieces of advice together because they work together. And finally, another piece of advice from Aisha radiallahu anha. من أسخط الناس برضا الله كفاه الناس ومن أرضى الناس بسخط الله وكله الله إلى الناس. So she said, whoever angers the people برضا الله, by the pleasure of Allah, then he will suffice him against the people. And whoever pleases the people at the expense of the anger of Allah, Allah will entrust him to the people. So this advice is also related in marfu form. It is ascribed to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here in this maw'idah, again, we have to relate this to our situation that we find ourselves in. That especially people who have a makana, they have a position, or they have some sort of ri'asa, or they have something whereby they're interacting with the people, and there are situations which arise where there's a conflict now between you pleasing the people or you please Allah Azza wa Jal. These are situations that everybody finds himself in. And in the time of the Messenger of Allah, we know that there were people who were not sincere and truthful in their iman, the hypocrites. And they used to try and please the people. We see in the Quran, يَحْلِفُونَ لَكُمْ لِتَرْضَوْا عَنْهُمْ فَإِن تَرْضَوْا عَنْهُمْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَرْضَى عَنِ الْقَوْمِ الْفَاسِقِينَ. These are the hypocrites. That they swear to you. They take oath and they swear that in order to please you. But if you are pleased with them, then Allah, He is not pleased with the sinful people. This is the way of the hypocrites, that they always trying to make the Muslims and the Messenger of Allah to be pleased with them, even though internally they were concealing kufr, disbelief, and kibr, pride and arrogance, but they were just trying to please the people. So in a similar manner, as Muslims, as believers, as people of the Sunnah, we often find ourselves in situations. It could be in the home. It could be out, in the course of giving da'wah. It could be in terms of any other interactions that we have, where we find now there's a conflict now between as-sidq wal-kadhib. You will either be truthful or you will be false. You will tell a lie in your speech or your action. Or maybe there's a conflict now between pleasing Allah and pleasing the creation, or angering the creation or angering Allah. And so it is here where a person's iman will come through. A person who has iman, who has faith, who fears Allah, this is where the iman now will guide him. His iman will guide him in the direction of pleasing Allah, being truthful, and angering the people instead of angering Allah Azza wa Jal. So anyone who sticks with this, if you stick by this principle, then Allah Azza wa Jal, He will suffice you from the people, as we see in the narration from Aisha. Kafahu nas. Allah will suffice him with respect to the people. Meaning the people will not harm him. They will not, even though he angers them, they will not be able to harm him. Rather, Allah Azza wa Jal, He will turn it the other way around. He will make the people basically be nice to him. And as for if he tries to please them, then they will turn the other way around. They will eventually come to dislike him. And they will dispraise him. And he will not be given tawfiq. So long as he goes, like the hypocrites that we see. The hypocrites trying to please falsely the people, though they're not trying to please Allah Azza wa Jal. And so the hearts were turned against them. They were hated and despised. So similarly, a person who, when he makes it his goal to please Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will suffice him against all of the people. And the example of that we can relate to this advice, the example of those three companions who refrained from the expedition of Tabuk. There were many hypocrites who would find excuses to keep away from these expeditions because they had no real faith. And on one occasion, in the Battle of Tabuk, there were tens of people who withheld. And most of them were hypocrites. And they were making false excuses. They were trying to please the people and not please Allah Azza wa Jal. And they were not concerned about the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. So amongst them was Ka'ab bin Malik, as you know the story in detail. And we know that Ka'ab bin Malik and his two companions, they were genuine, they were truthful. They had genuine excuse in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. But the Muslims boycotted them for 50 days. 50 days, and this was extremely hard upon them. But because they were truthful, because they did not try to please the people, they weren't making false excuses, they were genuine. Unlike the hypocrites, they feared Allah and they knew that, they had patience upon this and they were truthful. And because they were truthful, look at the ayah in the Quran that Allah Azza wa Jal, He revealed in relation to them. The ayat in the Quran in Surah At-Tawbah, where this story is mentioned, when the story is mentioned at the end of those ayat, there is an ayah which comes, verse 119. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. This ayah follows their story. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah and be with the truthful. Who are the truthful? The truthful here, alluding here now, in the light of that story that came previously, those who were truthful, Ka'ab bin Malik and the companions who were with him. So because these people were truthful to Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah declared them to be truthful. In the Quran, they're referred to as as-sadiqeen. And so here, look at the situation, how it was when they were suspected by the Muslims for making a false excuse. For 50 days they had to go through this. And then because they were truthful, Allah applied this label to them, as-sadiqeen. Imagine having this revealed in connection to you, as-sadiqeen, the truthful. And so you see here then, what this tells us then is really that the benefit of being truthful to Allah at the expense of earning the anger of the people. That this is something that will bring you great and mighty benefits, and it is a sign of your iman. It is where your iman will truly shine and bring itself through. That if you have genuine iman, it will lead you to please Allah at the expense of pleasing the people. So we can suffice with this much, inshallah ta'ala. So these three statements, remember them. They come from an aunt who is Aisha and her nephew who is Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Remember who these great companions are. You remember the stations that they had, meaning the praiseworthy things that they did, what they were known for. And put the three advices together, because all these advices, they work together. It all works together. The advice of Ibn Zubayr about at-taqwa, the garment of taqwa, how you can evaluate yourself by certain things, about being pleased with Allah's decree, being patient, being grateful, judging back to the book of Allah, and likewise diminishing one's sins, and likewise here pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal, even at the expense of angering the people. So with that we'll suffice. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to benefit us with what we've heard and to give us success, tawfiq, in acting upon that which we know, because everything, the amal, the intent